Are you investing in the unquestionable AI leader? Now, when it comes to Nvidia, it is a company that has seen a major pullback, and I want to break it down and really seeing if this is still a good poise to buy with the pullback. When we start thinking of Nvidia, the stock is up more than 600% in 2 years. That is a massive, massive growth, hovering right around a market cap of $3 trillion. However, Nvidia has had a massive correction or pullback. The share price of the AI chip leader is down about 16%. And as of making this video, it's down about 18.7%, which is kind of crazy. In its entirety, last Thursday, the stock went down 8% alone, which really puts it into a good territory to be picked up as a buy or a hold. Now, the company reported 78% revenue growth and about $40 billion of revenue, which is kind of crazy. So earnings per share moving from 49 to 89 and estimated really at that 85. So is it worth something to do? So a lot of people have sold off Nvidia, and I feel like it's gotten to the point where it has gotten so large that people had to take profits. There was a lot of fear that it would have a massive pullback, which we've seen in the past. If you guys remember, and looking at when it got caught up in kind of the presidential race, everything that was going on with Trump, the stock now trades down 27% from the peak just a couple months ago. So when you think about that, you are getting a 27% discount, which is kind of crazy on a stock that is literally running the AI boom. They are providing all of the chips, even the Blackwell chip, which of course they can't even make enough of to fill the demand that is going on there. But many are sitting on very large gains from the Nvidia stock, and they're wondering if selling makes more sense. And again, it seems like a lot of people have taken the profit. So looking and breaking this down, when we look at the history of volatility, now when it comes to Nvidia, semiconductors really are cyclical and they can be very volatile. When we start looking at this, it has become one of the most popular and most valuable companies in the world, even though it hasn't been smooth. When we start looking at even the AI boom in 2023, valuation rate now in comparison to then is down about 24%. When you start looking though in Microsoft, when you start looking at Alphabet, when you look at Oracle, when you look at all of these companies, a lot of people are also saying that they have overspent on new data centers, and Nvidia chips are really trying to push this, but cannot push it fast enough. Now, we know that when it comes to tech sector, incredibly volatile. So when we've seen the double dip, and we've seen this before back in about 2019, Nvidia was down about 50%. And then, of course, just north of 22, we've seen it down about another 65%, which would have been some absolute crazy times. So is it the point where negative 24% or 27% down, as we're seeing it right now, is going to make a big difference? But there has been twice in the last 10 years, Nvidia has seen a drawdown or a pullback of about 50% or more, which is kind of crazy. When the stock surge concerned in 2018, and then of course COVID, and then the revenue demand really driving a little bit lower when it comes to this one. So let's break it down and see exactly what this one does look like. So looking right here, we're going to hop over to tip ranks. We're going to break this down. Now, looking where we're at right now, Nvidia is trading at $112. So a very reasonable price when it comes to a company. Now, they did a stock split. Let's take a little bit of a closer look at this. So they did a stock split not too long ago. And you'll notice in the last 3 months, which is right here, guys, they are down 18.82% in the last 3 months. So thinking of the last 90 days, you're buying Nvidia, which of course is looking at the smart score. Score is a 9, really outperforming, but you're buying it at an 18% discount. And again, even when we go back a little bit further, you can see on the 6 months, they're up 5%. But on the year to date, they are down 16%, meaning again, you're getting a 16% discount if you want a dollar cost average. When we start going back further though, this is where the growth came in. 3 years is at almost 400%. Even looking at the 5-year, 1,744% on that 5-year, which is kind of crazy. Now, because of the pullback, you'll notice the market cap right here, 2.70 trillion. So the market cap has come down considerably because of the valuation. So as soon as the stock starts coming down and pulling back with the decline like we have seen over the past, again, probably about the last, 3 months with an 18% decline, this market cap was just right at that 3 trillion mark. As you can see right now, it's at about 2.7. So what are the analyst forecasts, which I want to get into this? They're putting it as a strong buy. You can see right here, the 12-month forecast is going up to 177, which is the average. Even on the low end at 130, still seeing a pretty decent increase right there. On the high end, they are looking at $220, which is kind of crazy. So even looking at that, average price puts it up 57.43%, which is kind of crazy. Now, 42 ratings, out of the ratings, 39 buys, 3 holds, 0 analysts are saying to sell this. So this is a stock, of course, that we hold in a lot of different funds. When we start looking at the QQQM, when we look at the VOO, this is a company that, again, we're holding in a lot of those funds. But funny enough, because of it being a really big AI driver and knowing that a lot of growth is coming from data centers, coming from really AI-driven companies, what does AI say about the stock? So pretty interesting that they do have the AI stock analysis, which again, this is the AI portion that Nvidia, and they're saying that it is going to outperform. Looking at some of the factors in here, automotive growth, chips like the Drive Thor are expected to drive a 200% year-over-year increase. Automotive, didn't even think about it. A lot of people associate it with computers, but when we start looking at smartphones, when we start looking at pretty much everything, including looking at the automobile industry, they have drives and they are making stuff that are running that automotive groups, which is going to be huge. Financial performance, net revenue of 39.3 billion, which of course is going to surpass. Even looking at the last earnings report, it was a surpass as well. Gross margin concerns. This is the only negative factor that they have here. Meeting the aggressive Blackwell demand. This, of course, has left prioritized manufacturing volumes. This is kind of the change. So when you start looking at this specifically, the Blackwell chips, they cannot make them fast enough for the demand, which could really cause a lot of competitors to come into the market space, or even looking for other places to buy this. Even looking at the S&P. So looking at Nvidia versus the S&P 500, looking at what they're kind of forecasting going in right now as March of 2025, you can see the S&P is about 14%. The SPY is about 14%, and we have Nvidia at 22. So thinking of where it was though, I mean, look at the divergence that we do really see in here, because right here was kind of the breakout when it came to Nvidia and really just eclipsed. And I mean, we're seeing a peak, you know, people taking a lot of profits right here, seeing another real big buying spike, doing the exact same. And then, of course, a little mountain going up there. When we start looking at the 3-year, like we had said, you can see almost a 400% growth versus the SPY or the VOO that is running at that 40%. Even looking at the 5-year, you're talking the SPY in 5 years has over doubled. Now, of course, again, when you start thinking of the SPY, when you start thinking about the S&P 500, Nvidia is, because it is market weighted, Nvidia is a $3 trillion company. You are holding, and you do contain a significant portion of that in that SPY, which means the other companies within the S&P 500 funds like the VOO and the SPY are bringing this down and bringing this down massively because of the growth factor. Or essentially, we have a lot of those high-tech stocks, Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, that are carrying the production, and really what we're seeing with the SPY itself. Very interesting to see overall where this performance is going to do. News and insight, there's a lot that's going on with Toyota making the China EV, a lot of Broadcom, a lot of information out of here. But overall, guys, it is really poised as saying that Nvidia is going to be a very strong buy. AI is saying it. Analysts are saying that is a very strong buy. So it might be the time to jump on board. Now, me personally, like we were talking, I do not own individual stocks. I will own it in the QQQM. I will also own it as a little bit of an overlap within the VOO, within that S&P 500 fund, but I'm not going to own it just on its own. I know a lot of people do buy individual stocks, so definitely wanted to cover this so we could make sure that we know exactly what we're looking for. So that's going to do it for today's video. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, and as always, thank you guys for watching.